Hello again guys and welcome back to my channel. Kojiro from GamingandJapan here, and in this video I will be talking about my impressions of Death Stranding and the concept of Death Stranding not being for everyone, and the whole notion that this game is probably for certain specific types of gamers and not everyone is going to like this game based on what do you do in it and how it is structured. So first of all, I would like to make a couple of disclaimers here. Personally, I love the game a lot, but I'm not probably the target audience, the mainstream targeted audience, because I love Hideo Kojima games. I have played a lot of Metal Gears, and there was absolutely no way in which I would have like missed on this game. But although I love it, I still think that mainstream gamers and people who just play video games to relax and are quick to jump into the action and want to have more stuff to do in terms of fighting enemies and like beating monsters up or something like that, they might feel a little left out or even confused in the beginning of the game, because although there is a lot of information about video games nowadays in lots of forms, in the forms of trailers, gameplay videos, reviews, of course, streams, etc., there are still people out there who just buy a certain game because they don't want to be left behind of the quote what other people are talking about and what is like the general popular thing that is on everyone's mind right now. So yes, there are people out there that are buying games based on that principle, and I want to just explain. None of these are my complaints, by the way, for the game. I just want to explain why some people might feel a little left out and what are the conversations that you are going to get into when talking about this game, and what are some of the general opinions from, like I said again, casual gamers that are just trying this game out without having any prior experience with uh, games that are similar to this. Before I get into that, however, I wanna just quickly disperse the notion that this game is unique and cannot be categorized in any genre. Okay, so that's not true. You control your character in a pretty mainstream fashion. When you press forward, you move forward. You have a button for dashing. You can also crouch. You have a equipment load that can like stifle your like walking speed and running speed and stuff like that. You can also deliver cargo and hold the cargo in your left hand or right hand in order to not be damaged. Like, there are a couple of interesting things and ideas, but it's not like this game is just not like everything else you have seen. I don't agree with that notion. You have the standard progression. You get your mission explained to you in a cutscene that you can move your character. You can have a map in which you're gonna mark your destination, and then you go to that destination and you progress in the game. You can do side quests or like gather additional cargo on your way to the destination, but like it's not something that people haven't seen in many other games. You can say, yeah, I can see how the argument can be made that this is like a main game that is like a side quest in other games. I can see that, but there are a lot of interesting things to do. Anyway, so yeah, moving your character might be a little challenging at first, but there are a lot of like tutorials, and just if you try a couple of things out, you're gonna find out what you have to do pretty fast, in my opinion. For example, if you start to stumble and just get stranded on one side or something like that, you can balance with the left triggers. You can also hold both of the triggers in order to just centralize your position, and then you can with the jump button, with the X button, you can move better when there is like rocks and like uneven surface out there, so it's not that complicated to move your character around and to progress in the game in terms of movement, in my opinion. There are also these ladders that people have left behind in order for you to help you in your progression, so it's not that complicated to move. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about, sorry for taking a little bit long to get to the point. So the way this game is structured can be the thing that is challenging for casual players. So let me explain. So you have a cutscene, for example, in which you have a very big info dump. Okay, you have, for example, Doom's level, cryo allergy, cryo network, timefall, like corpses, BTs, BBs, the whole thing about America before and after the apocalypse, the America's presidents, names like that are kind of similar, like Dead Man and Die Hard Man, Void Outs, and like all the other stuff. Like for example, the human bad guys are called Homo Demons. I'm not going to spoil any of the main story of the game here, so don't worry about that. So in the spawn of something like 3 to 5 minutes, you get a lot of information about terms in the game, about names, about how the world is structured that you have to remember in order to be able to follow the story. Then when you get to actually like move your character and play the game for real, you get to move your character for a couple of steps, maybe a couple of minutes, and then you get the call from the codec, okay? In which some of the NPCs explains once again what do you have to do, where do you have to go, and what is your next mission and your next destination, okay? So if you have missed what was said in the briefing room or during the cutscene, and especially if you miss a certain term, you can get a little bit confused about what's the point of the thing that you are about to do next. Yes, certainly most people will understand that yes, they have to go to a certain destination and deliver a cargo. That much is understandable, but I think there will be a lot of casual gamers, like I said, that will be confused with all the terms. In my opinion, it's not as bad as it was in, let's say, Metal Gear 4, because the Metal Gear games, for which Hideo Kojima became very famous, of course, they follow the same structure. You have a lot of cutscenes with a lot of information. The game is awesome, of course, but with all the terms and all the abbreviations, there are a lot of abbreviations in the Metal Gear games. If you miss a certain term, you can get confused about what the story, what's going on in the story, and then you have to read additional files and stuff like that. So it's not an easy story to follow. Is what I'm saying here. So after you play for a couple of minutes, you get, for example, another codec message in which the NPC again explains to you something related to the tutorial in the game. For example, how to refill your can near the river, or what are the BTs and how to escape from BT's territory and stuff like that. By the way, initially you cannot fight the BTs. These are the black monsters that look like they came from a Stephen King novel or something like that. Death Stranding requires a lot of attention and paying attention to the details, and a lot of things that you have to memorize. For example, when you sneak around and there are BTs nearby, you can see that in the cutscenes in the beginning, the characters hold their breath, for example, and you can do that during the actual game when you sneak around the opponents. There are other ways to like distract them. Of course, you have the baby, which is not. I personally don't like little children in video games because they are always presented in a very annoying one-sided way. But I don't mind the BB in Death Stranding. But anyway, my main point here is that the game requires a lot of attention, which most people they just want to relax with a certain game. Will probably have a difficult time following, which is not a bad thing, but it's something that should be noted. Okay. So the other big argument that you might hear about why this game is not for everyone is not sincere and actually comes from the direction of certain PC gamers. These are not all PC gamers, of course. These are certain fraction of PC gamers that just hate PlayStation gaming all the way. And I'm not talking about the PC Master Race memes and stuff like that. There are these people that just consider like people that play on PlayStation to be inferior to them, consider Japanese centric games to be like overrated, and especially because of the all hype and praise that the first, for example, three Metal Gears game got. Okay, and they just want to they just want this game, these specific PC gamers want Death Stranding to fail, and they want to see how people are disappointed with the game, and they are jumbling their arguments with the whole Game Stranding is not for everyone by saying, no, it's not only that it's not for everyone, this game sucks and it's bad and Kojima is overrated and the quote-unquote PlayStation peasants should get back in their 30 FPS caves and stuff like that, which is of course BS. But it should be noted because even I live in a small country with not that many people in it, but even here we have uh, people like that, okay? So I can only imagine that in the Western gaming communities there are a whole bunch of people like that, and although these specific PC gamers might be a fringe and not a big part of the overall PC gaming community, I have already seen opinions like that floating here and there, okay? And we have to face it, guys, like nowadays it's not a very common sense and common course of action for people to just say, hey, this game's probably not for me. I'm not interested in just carrying cargo around and like listening to cutscenes and stuff like that. I'm just not gonna play this game, and I'm gonna play something else. I'm gonna play Disco Elysium or The Outer Worlds, for example, or something like that. Or people who have just bought the game because all the hype and all the like the internet buzz that is going around, they have bought the game without making any research on it, and after playing for like an hour or two they have realized that this game is not for them. They're not going to just say, hey, I'm going to sell this game as a second hand or just return it, and then I'm going to buy Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order next week and I can get more action and I can get like lightsaber fights and stuff like that in that game. No, they're probably just gonna trash the game. Most people that have bought the game without the research and got disappointed probably going to trash this game. This is my opinion. Of course, some of the gaming journalists out there in the initial reviews expressed negative opinion on the game, especially for its pace and the movement of the main character, but you have to always keep in mind when you're reading mainstream gaming sites where there are like mainstream gaming journalists in it, you always need to have in the back of your mind the idea that these people probably are not very good at video games in general. This is not going for all gaming journalists, of course. But more importantly, some of them are not just specialized and profiled to play these types of games. Some of them also have a negative bias towards Japanese video games in general because of like other reasons like social justice and stuff like that. And some others are just annoyed when they have to play a game for longer hours, which is strange considering that this is their main job. But like I said, this is not going for all gaming journalists, and the way that teams in structures like that pick up the stuff that is going to cover certain game and like based on its genre and which person covers which game is something that I would like to talk about some other time maybe. And lastly, the small thing that is a little bit annoying for me personally in this game, I want to emphasize that this is a very small thing and it's not going to make me dislike the game in general whatsoever, is the constant mentioning of America. America before the apocalypse, America after the apocalypse. America needs to be made whole again, and all these stuff are maybe because I'm not like mired in the current political like narrative of the US. Maybe I'm not sure, but this is a little bit annoying to me, and it just makes me want to not be so cooperative with the general storyline, and makes me want to just throw other people and build walls and barriers instead of like ladders. But I still haven't like progressed that much in the game to be able to speak about stuff like that in details. But yeah, the America angle is a little bit too much in my opinion, and I wanna see how the general community is going to respond in terms of like the way that people help other people to progress in the game or not. This is something that will be interesting to see. It's gonna be interesting to see if there will be any like trolls that specifically do the things that I just mentioned, like building walls and stuff like that, just for the wolves. But yeah, overall, guys, the game is lovely and I like it a lot. I don't know how much of a replayability it's gonna have, but it's fun nevertheless. The story, the gameplay, everything is very interesting to me. But still, I think that this game is not for everyone, and I can totally see how some mainstream casual gamers are going to be a little bit tired and probably disappointed of the pace of the game for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you like it and I will see you in the next one. Bye!